Welcome to the Wealth Defenders with Terry Cox. He's the man who can help you get your money right. And I'm so glad to be with him again, Terry. It's great to see you.
It's good to see you, Bruce. It's been a little bit. How you doing?
It has been a little bit, I tell you. The country, there's a lot of stuff going on here. It's hot on one side, cold on the other. Let's try to find some equilibrium, right?
Yeah. I hear you got some snow out there.
We did get some snow out here, yes.
Yeah.
And you know how things are over here. We're not set up for the snow, not like some other folks in Wisconsin or other places. And I tell you, I drive a car that's not snow ready. It does well in the summertime, but a little bit of snow, no, it's fishtailing.
All right, that could be fun.
Yeah, for like a day or two,
For a day or two, yeah, there you go.
See, I lived in Germany many, many moons ago, and I got my fill of snow while I was over there. But it's pretty to look at for maybe a week. But then it's like, man, I got to shovel my car out of a block of ice every time I want to go to the store. So it's kind of a drag. So
yeah, that's
you
not
out
good.
there. If our viewers and listeners are dealing with that right now, our hearts go out to you. It's never fun to mess with that stuff,
Yeah, that's right.
But speaking of trying to get equilibrium and how things are kind of crazy right now, I'm thinking about the one goal that most Americans have, and it's actually retirement. I didn't believe it, but apparently retirement is the number one financial goal of most Americans, and I think that is worth talking about today on the program because we want to be comfortable in our twilight years. It's the bottom line.
Yes, absolutely, that's for sure.
Yeah. And with that in mind, there's a study that we actually looked at before the program started taping here. Boston College looked into this, and they found that half of Americans that are retiring at age 65 will be only able to maintain, they won't be able to maintain how they're living. So, that's, when you think about that, that's wild because we all have standards of living, and if half of the people are not being able to maintain that says a lot about people who are not planning and looking ahead at things.
That's right. Because the plan is everything. Because you spent a lifetime doing what you had to do. Now that you're in retirement, you should be able to do what you want to do.
That's right.
And reducing your standard of living shouldn't be on that side of the ledger, right?
I would say so. And me personally, I'm early in this game, so I've got some time to plan. But some people out there, they're a bit later on in the process, and they're finding that, hey, they're saying to themselves, I need to move on this stuff. So, Terry, I got to ask you, what are some things that people can do to make sure that they're not going to get blindsided by everything that's happening right now?
Well, first of all, you need to have a plan and review that plan, at least annually. And that's what we do with our clients when they first come in. Before we start making any recommendations, it's like, okay, where are you now? Where do you want to be? When you step into retirement, what do you want that to look like? And if they're on a savings plan now, let's run some illustrations because we can model these things out to say, okay, here's how much you're saving now based on a rate of return of X. When we get to your retirement age, where are you going to be financially?
Yes.
And sometimes that means getting into the budget a little bit and finding things that you're wasting money on,
Right.
Because there's so much out there that you can spend money on. But what are you spending money on that really makes a difference in your life? And what can you cut out to use that money then to put into your retirement plan so that you're able to step into retirement and not adjust your lifestyle, unless you want to, of course.
Yeah, right. And it can be pretty sobering when you actually see all the line items on that budget and you realize, wait a sec, man, all these little expenses that I haven't been thinking about, it's all adding up to a big lump sum. And I think, you helping people get control of that spending and stuff, that goes a long way toward establishing a safe financial future for people.
Yes, for sure. And, another fact is people are living longer. We have healthier lifestyles. People are living longer. So, the rule of thumb has always been, hey, you need to save at least 10% of your earnings. Now, that number's starting to creep up. In some cases, that can be 12 to 15% just to accommodate a longer life. if you're living into your 90s, and let's say you retire at 62 or 65, and you live to be 92 or 95, you're spending 30 years in retirement. That's a third of your life.
Yeah.
So if you're going to have that much time in retirement, that nest egg is going to have to be pretty substantial to fund your lifestyle.
That's right. And if you're starting later, then you gotta save more. There's no two ways about it.
Yeah, absolutely. And in some cases, depending on the situation, maybe that's really getting into the budget, and maybe you end up saving 20 or 25% of your income to make sure that you make it. But
it's a tall order, though. I mean,
it's a tall order, and but that's why we like to talk about these things, because if you feel that you're coming up short, or you're thinking that there might be a shortfall because you've got longevity on your parents' side, well, then maybe we want to start talking about things that are going to produce income for a lifetime. You can create personal pension plans through income annuities. You can have dividend-paying stocks. There's a lot of things out there that can generate income that can help you get through a long retirement if you run into that.
Yeah, right. And with that in mind, I want to talk a bit about maximizing retirement accounts, because it seems like that should be a big part of your plan here.
Yeah, especially if you have an employer-sponsored plan. If your employer is providing you with a plan that's providing you with a match, you should at least be saving enough into your plan that you're maximizing the match that you're going to get from your employer. That's just free additional money going into your account that you need to take advantage of.
Ooh, because otherwise you're leaving that money on the table pretty much.
Yeah, absolutely. Because if they don't put it into your account, they're not going to put it into anybody's account except theirs.
Right. But what about pensions? Because, man, I keep hearing that the pension is going the way of the dodo. Are you seeing clients that still have pensions?
That's getting fewer and far between. This started a number of years ago, because eventually employers, they notice that the people who work for them and then they retire, suddenly they're looking at people who worked for the company maybe 25 years, has been retired for 30 years. So they've been paying these people in retirement longer than what they actually paid them when they were working. That was what initiated the shift. So they started moving away from the pensions into the 401k plans.
Right.
And now the employee, not only are they on the hook for finding a good job, paying the bills day to day, but now they've got to save for their retirement.
Yeah, right. So it seems like more employers are saying, hey, thanks for working for us, but you're on your own for this retirement thing.
Yeah, and the retirement plans are good. The 401k plans are good, but the one thing that I see is nobody shows up at your place of employment to help you with your 401k plan. Nobody's sitting down to review with you every year and say, hey, Bruce, you've been in the plan 5 years now. What's changed? Is anything changed in your life? Do we need to update? Do we make adjustments? So my clients that are still working that have 401k plans, when we do our annual reviews, I encourage them to bring their 401k statements in, so at least we can review them with the client and make sure that what they have in their 401k plan is complementing what they have with us, whether it be a Roth IRA or an investor's account or whatever the case may be. But you need to pay attention to that, because there's studies out there that show employees will have saved for a lifetime, and they never make any adjustments as they get close to retirement. We've talked a lot about the retirement red zone. 3 to 5 years before you retire, you need to start idling your portfolio down. And in some cases, people don't do that. It's a very aggressive portfolio all the way to the end, and then heaven forbid, we run into financial crisis or some crazy world event that the market reacts and drops 20%. That could delay retirement for a number of years. If you didn't make any adjustments for that.
And we talked about this on the last show, how you need to play with your risk and minimize your risk as you get later in the game, because just like you said, there's less of a chance you can make that up on the back end. Like if you're my age, you can be very reckless with your investing. Don't do that, by the way. Don't do that. You want to save your money, but people in my situation, we can be a bit more, fast and loose with our investments. But yeah, if you're 65 and you're pensionless, you can't really afford to lose too much.
That's right. And shortly after I started my career, I had a guy that called and made an appointment. He wanted to come in and talk about retirement planning, and he told me where he worked, and so I knew this guy had a good job. And when he pulled in, my office used to be on the corner of the ground floor there, so I could see the parking lot. Yeah. So I saw this guy pull in a BMW 750, and I'm thinking, wow, this could be good. All right.
Yeah.
Well, he comes in and he says, so I need to talk about some retirement planning. I said, great. So what have you done so far? And he says, well, I'm just getting started. so the guy was, at the time, he was like 62 years old. He was leasing a BMW 750, and I'm like, well, we've got a little work to do, but yeah, I mean, life goes by so fast. And you always think you've got tomorrow. I can get this started tomorrow or next week or next year.
Sure,
well, that can turn into 2 years or 5 years or 10 years, and life happens. You start out,
it really does.
You're single, you got your first job. Next thing you know, you're married, you're buying a house, you got some kids.
Right.
All of a sudden, you wake up one day and you're like, "Wow, I'm halfway through the game here. What am I doing?"
Right.
And it's easy to do. A lot of people do it. So if you fall into that category, don't feel bad because you're not alone. But still, at some point, you gotta get things started, and that's the hardest thing: getting it started, getting a plan, and being consistent with that plan.
Absolutely, and it's just better that way, because I hate to generalize, but it seems like in America we like the image of wealth, but. So a lot of people, it looks like they have money, but they really don't. Wouldn't it be better to really have that plan and have that rock solid foundation? So instead of looking like you have money, you actually do have money, and you can have that retirement that you've always dreamed about.
Yeah, for sure. Did you ever read the book? It's been out, 20 or 30 years now. It was called The Millionaire Next Door.
I have not read that one yet.
So, and this is going back a little bit of time, so you have to adjust the numbers for inflation. But at the time when they wrote the book, most millionaires in this country made $50,000 to $60,000 a year. But
that's a modest salary.
They started early, gave themselves some runway, took advantage of those employer matches in their 401k plan. Sure. And the other thing is, once you turn 50, you get a catch-up contribution. So you can put extra money into your savings account. So depending on, and the numbers are always different if you've got a traditional IRA or a Roth IRA, or you've got a 401k plan at work, those numbers are always different. It's dictated by the plan, but we can look into that and see what your limit is. And if we can max that out and get you a catch-up contribution, we're going to do that as well.
Ooh, that's fantastic. Taking advantage of all the tools in the financial toolbox to make sure that you out there have the retirement you've always dreamed about. I know we're coming up on time here, but I want to recap the basic steps that we covered just a bit in the program here. You want to make sure you're saving 15% annually. You want to save more if you're a late starter. So limit your big expenses, limit your emotional spending, maximize retirement accounts. We talked about the 401ks and also the IRAs too. Invest long-term as well.
Absolutely.
Take advantage of those catch-up contributions. Budget for a long retirement, because as Terry said, you might be out of work for 30 years. We're living longer here, and that's good. That's a good thing, but you got to plan.
That's a great thing. Yeah.
But most importantly, get professional help. You need a wealth defender to make sure that your nest egg stays strong, stays intact. And with that in mind, Terry, I want to give you the last word. Anything else the people out there need to know about when it comes to getting their money right now?
Yes. I want to come back to something that you mentioned when you were going through the recap about investing for the long term.
Yes.
Historically, the S&P 500 is going to give us returns somewhere between 8 and 10%.
Okay.
Do you know how much the average investor actually gets?
Isn't it around 5?
It's around 3.
Ooh.
And the reason is people get emotional. You invest for the long term, but then you turn on the television and you've got these talking heads talking about everything that could possibly go wrong in the world, and we react to that. Oh, I got to sell my stuff. I can't be invested now. Just ride it out. Just ride it out. Especially if you're younger. That's when you just want to be doubling up. And buying more stuff when it's on sale. But yeah, don't jump in and out of the market, because if you one of these days on a next episode, I'm going to bring in a chart about missing the best days. Yeah, so if you miss like one of the best days in a 10-year period, your number shrinks. But if you miss like 5 to 10 of those best days, it's crippling. And that's why the average investor doesn't pick up that 8 to 10% return, and they get a 3.
Ooh, this is a sobering revelation, and I'm going to look forward to that next show. I want to see that chart.
Okay.
That's fantastic. But Terry, thank you for dropping the knowledge on me. I feel a bit more focused and a bit more like I can get a plan together with your help. So appreciate you.
Absolutely. It's available, my man.
Well, we're going to put the contact information on the screen right here. Make sure you contact Terry for that no-cost, no-obligation financial review. Also, make sure you like, comment, and, of course, subscribe to The Wealth Defenders. This is the podcast you want to watch to make sure your money is going to get right. And we always make sure that you get your money right here on The Wealth Defenders. So with that in mind, let's go ahead and wrap this one up. For Terry Cox, this is Bruce Rosenblum. We're signing out. We will see you next time on The Wealth Defenders.